The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be here with you on this Thursday morning. It is the 1st of August. I was going to say at the end of July, but it isn't. It's the 1st of August. Oh my goodness, where has the time gone? We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. I couldn't be happier to be here today and have the opportunity to talk with you about that. Last night I was at an event. We've talked about the open house that was going to take place at the new Thousand Oaks office. It's multi things going on, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later with Angela Persicke, who's a board-certified behavior analyst. But I did get to go with my son last night. It was really awesome. It was lovely to see this new center-based system, and Autism Research Group is housed there as well, and they're going to do home intervention there, and they're going to do center-based. It was really exciting, and I was thrilled to see the number of parents that were there. If you were there, write in and talk to us, because I thought it was great to see you guys, and it was so, I got lost, because that happens to me. And I don't know how to use GPS. That would be asking too much. But by the time I got there, the speeches were already taking place, and there were so many people. It was standing room only, and you couldn't really get into the room. And I could hear Dr. Tarbox talking, and I could hear Dr. Grandpichet talking, but I couldn't see them because I was down the hallway. And then when parents started asking questions, then I got pushy because I wanted to hear what you guys were asking. And it was one of those things where I was like, that's it, I'm going in. And I was kind of obnoxious and weeded through people so that I could go stand further in the back and eventually take a seat. And then I got to talk with some of you afterwards, and man, I'm so privileged to be a part of a community that has people like you guys in it. I always say I've never yet met the autism parent that I haven't liked, and it's deeper than that. I think I haven't met the autism parent that I don't love. There's just this instant bond sometimes that it's a wonderful thing. And if you are an autism parent who feels like you're doing this alone, I want to encourage you to get to events like that. Pick and choose what you can go to. And obviously, there are many conferences that you can go to. But if you can't afford those, go to some of these free events to meet other parents and to meet experts in the field to lift you up, to know what is possible. And one of the really exciting things towards the end of the program last night, Ethan Goring went up to the front and spoke, and his mom came up and spoke too. And of course, we've featured before on Mission Possible, Ethan's story. He is now 10, was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, had intensive early intervention from the age of 2 to 6, and then he was deemed recovered. And I think a lot of times people get caught in that thing of, what does that look like? What is that really? And my son's 10. And, so the exact same age as Ethan, and my son was there too, and I watched Ethan get up in front of the crowd and speak, and, Ethan's at a place that my son isn't, because all of our kids are different and they end up at a different place, but I watched and I was like, look at him. Look at how awesome he is. And I say the same thing about my son, but I think that there are things with my son that the trained eye certainly can tell that he has autism, and sometimes, depending on the day, the untrained eye can see too. You look at Ethan, and his mom said one of the most disappointing things is that people meet him and they think, well, I don't think he had autism when he was 2. And everybody, including Ethan, went, oh, right? And she said, because it's so disheartening after all the work he did and that we did, and that somebody would poo-poo what happened. So it was just an amazing event. And as I said, I got to talk to some of you, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed. You guys were there. I know how hard that is, man. And I know how hard it is to say, it's time for me to do something different. It's time for me to, dig in a little bit and attack this in a way that I haven't before, in a way that I hadn't thought about. I'm just really proud of all of us for the fact that we show up for our kids. It's a really incredible thing. But in any case, and we will talk more about that tomorrow. But we are going to talk about a lot of things having to do with autism, including the emotional side, including the financial side, and how we help ourselves or how we help our kids to get to that progress. It doesn't matter whether you're a parent, teacher, practitioner, or you yourself are on the spectrum. We want to help to support you on this journey and hook you up with the things that you need. And we have suggestions for things, of course, but don't assume that because I'm not an autism expert, I'm an autism parent, and tell me, is what I'm trying to get to. Tell me what it is you need individually. So, and what your questions are. Emily's going to show you some of the different ways that you can interact with us here at the show. And I'm going to start by reminding you that at this moment in time, still, although I expect it to change today, there is only one way that you can watch us live. That's at www.autism-live.com. When you go there, you see there's a computer screen, and the show plays 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you're watching us on a computer. If you're on a tablet, you go, there's a blank screen there. I'm going to tell you in a minute how you can fix that. But while you're there on that screen, even when you're on a tablet, there is a white box. Type your questions in there, your suggestions, your advice, what's working for you, what isn't working for you, so on and so forth. Type that hit enter. You don't have to log in. Nobody asks you your name and your birthday and your credit card number. Nobody's going to charge you for it later on. It's just totally free. And it shows up here on my screen. And then during the next live show, we have an opportunity to interact with you. Now, a couple of things I need to remind you as you're using that live feature, make sure you reference what you're watching. The show plays 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I don't always know which episode you were watching when you said something. Even the show is 2 hours, and if I have a guest in the first hour and you write something, sometimes I don't know which segment or which comment we were talking about. So make sure you reference what it is you're talking about in the sentence as if I've just dropped into the conversation. Okay? And if you want us to get back to you personally, you can leave personal information on there. It gets shared only by me, and I have a way of editing out your personal information before I share it, which is a cool thing. So feel free to be able to do that. Okay, Emily showed you some of the other ways, and I want to talk to you right now about our YouTube page, because we want you to be able to watch the show live on your tablets. You guys have been writing in saying you want to do that. We found a really easy, quick fix for you to be able to do that. However, we need your help. On our YouTube page, if you go there, the full episodes are always uploaded, and also highlights of things that have happened that we think would be of interest to you. There's the YouTube page. There is a place to subscribe at the top of the YouTube page. If you go to what Emily is showing you right now and you go to the top and you hit subscribe, you have to be logged into either a Google account or your YouTube account, whatever that is. You have to be logged in. But if you are, you can subscribe to our YouTube page. There's a way that you can customize it, do whatever, but we have to have 1,000 in order for YouTube to stream us live. And we were within, I don't know, we're within 16. We need 16 more people to do it today, and then we will be at 1,000. So I encourage you, if you're watching, to do that right now. Don't count on somebody else to do it, and then share it with other people. There's a great way that Emily has made for you to be able to share the information about subscribing. Go to our Facebook page. You got to scroll down a little bit. There's a picture of a bottle of One Hope wine, a picture of Temple Grandin's new book, The Autistic Brain, and then there is a box that's Endless Games Cornered Game. It's a great game for kids on the spectrum. It's a great game for adults. Really fun game, but in particular, our kids on the autism spectrum really love it. I played it with my son a couple of weeks ago. So much fun. You can win that whole gift package. All you have to do to enter is to go on that Facebook site and then share it on your Facebook site. Okay? And once you've shared it, you are entered to win. And when we get to the 1,000, it'll probably be next week when we're back a week from today, and we'll share who the winner of that lovely gift set, bottle of One Hope wine, Temple Grandin's new book, The Autistic Brain, and Cornered, the game from Endless Games. So let's see if we can't get that done today. I'd love to get that done while we're live here on the show. So help us out and ask somebody else to subscribe as well. So Emily's going to talk me through. We have new technology here in the studio, and double click the home page. All right, here we go. And then I'm scrolling over. Here we go. I'm reconnecting so that I can show you something. I want to share with you. You got it now, Emily? She's looking to see. Okay, I clicked to go back to the PowerPoint. No, I don't know where that... Oh, there it is. Okay. This is me in technology. Do you guys ever feel this way? Okay. Because at the start of every show, something that we like to do is because, and I always remind you, I'm not an expert in autism, right? I'm a parent. And I know being on this journey as a parent and coming into it without a psychology background, that the jargon is intensive, that there is a whole set of jargon that goes with autism. And I, for one, for the first 2 years was adamant about the fact that I was not going to participate in that. And then when my mission shifted a little bit and I realized that I needed to get this job done as a parent, and I needed to do it as efficiently as I could and as inexpensively as I could, and part of that meant making friends with the jargon. So every morning we do what we call jargon of the day. This is the time of day when we take one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we give you the actual definition, so you see the language that you will be met with when you look it up on Google or Google Scholar, or you look it up in a textbook, or you actually, I don't know anybody who does this anymore to look one thing up, but if you drive to the library and get out the psychology text and look it up, we'd like to give you the actual definition, and then we give you a working definition, something that's a little bit easier to understand. It's not as specific. Sometimes it makes our experts a little on edge, but we have to have a way of starting to understand what in the hey nani are they talking about, right? Okay, so our term today is antecedent, because this is something we talk about, and this is one of those words that, I don't know about you, this just was not in my lexicon before autism. I was not dropping the word antecedent or antecedent modification. And you know what? As soon as I understood what an antecedent was, it was like somebody turned on the lights in the house and I went, I can use this. And it was one of the first jargon terms when I went to go to parent training so that I could get ABA for my son. It was the thing that they sat down and they said, look, you need to understand what an antecedent is, because we're going to talk about antecedent behavior and consequence. Okay, so what is antecedent? Our actual definition is anything that occurs or is present immediately before the behavior of interest. Okay, I understand what those words mean, but what does it mean in the context of my kid and autism and my life and what I'm doing, and the fact that I need to be able to go to the grocery store to buy some canned corn? Help me out here. So our working definition is what happened before. We've been talking about the 3-term contingent. That was our jargon for Monday. And whenever we're looking at a behavior, and let's start by thinking of challenging behaviors. So I'm being driven crazy by my child. My child is kicking, screaming, biting, tantruming. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I can go to the grocery store and get the groceries. What am I going to do? And the experts will sit there and say to you, okay, let's talk about the behavior first. And the word that they use is the topography of the behavior. But they'll say to you, what does the behavior look like? And they'll want all kinds of information about it. What is happening? Is the child, does he start screaming? Does she start kicking? Do they bite? Are they throwing things? Are they swiping things? Are they poking people? Are they just screaming? Do they lay on the floor? Do they kick their arms? What's the behavior? What's stopping you from being able to do what you need to do? What are they doing? You describe the behavior and they go, okay, now they're going to ask you two other things. One of them is, what happened right before? What set this puppy off? That's the antecedent. And there's always an antecedent. Sometimes it's not evident what the antecedent is, but it's worthwhile to talk about it and go, what happened right before? Right before. Well, we were in the grocery store and he wanted a granola bar. And I said no, or I just walked by it, or he saw the balloon and then the thing happened. Okay, well, that's the antecedent. Something happened. And, sometimes the antecedent can be a change in light. It can be a sensory thing. I've shared before on the show that my son used to have a tantrum in the same place in the grocery store, same grocery store every time, and I could not figure out what the antecedent was. And I looked and looked and looked. It was a change in the floor tile, because he had a sensory issue and I just wasn't getting that, right? But there is always something, and it's important to know, if you can, what the antecedent is. So there's an antecedent, something happens right before, there's a behavior, and then there's always a consequence. It isn't always evident what the consequence is, but there is a consequence. And remember that we talk all the time on the show about the fact that any behavior that happens again and again and again, your child's having a tantrum on a regular basis, there's a consequence that is paying that behavior off. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it. It takes a lot of energy to have a tantrum. Sometimes the tantrum feels good when you're really, really upset, but it still takes a lot of energy. And even though our kids have seemingly endless energy, they don't. They get tired, they go to sleep eventually, right? So there is a paycheck somewhere in the consequence for that behavior. And if we start to look at this three-term contingent, there's an antecedent, a behavior, and a consequence, and we start to get adept at this, we can change the equation. And it's much more efficient than thinking, I'm going to change the behavior. Behavior is hard to change in and of itself, right? But we can change an antecedent. If the antecedent was that the child saw the balloon, right, and then they freaked out, we can change what happens in the antecedent so that when the child sees the balloon, we can teach them how to appropriately ask for the balloon and how to appropriately deal with when they can't get the balloon. That's something that we can teach. If we know that every time they walk by the balloon aisle, they're going to freak out, we can avoid the balloon aisle. We can. That is within our power sometimes. We have so much control over antecedents that we don't necessarily even notice until we know what the antecedent is. And then ultimately we have so much control over the consequences. So you'll hear our experts come in and talk about something and they'll say, oh, this challenging behavior, well, this is a great one for antecedent modification. We're going to change the equation beforehand. If you took your child to a buffet and they reached up and they grabbed everything and stuffed it in their mouths, one of the things that we would do antecedent modification is make sure that they were full when we got there, right? We could also, with an older child who had good receptive language, talk about rules about you must ask before you do that. That would be an antecedent modification, right? The list is endless of how we can institute antecedent modification, but it's the what happened before. So when you hear people talking about, well, the antecedent, what happened before, and by the way, if your child, you go to school to pick up your child and the teacher says, oh, well, we're having a problem, right? Do the same thing the experts do. What's the problem? What's the behavior? And they'll go, oh, well, he threw his pencil and he laid on the floor and great. And then the very next thing you should ask is exactly what's on the screen. What happened right before? Get in the habit. What happened right before? Oh, okay, how can we change that? If there wasn't enough transition time, can we give a warning for the transition time? Oh, it can change the whole ball game, right? So antecedent, very powerful once you understand what it is. All right, that's our jargon for today. We always have a question of the day for you. And we've been talking about ABA all this week. It's by no means the only thing we talk about, even this week, but we have been talking about ABA. We want to know, what have the principles of ABA taught you? And we'd love to hear from you on Facebook. I think we're going to have time later on to get on Facebook and look and see what you guys have written. But I had the opportunity to stand there last night and I was talking to a couple of parents. And one of the things that I said that I was told from the beginning, from the parents who brought us to ABA and said, here's the phone number you need. Call the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and here's how you're going to get on track to progress. And they said, and by the way, it's the best parent training you could ever get anywhere. And that's really what I've learned from the principles of ABA, and not just parent training, but it's really looked at how it's really changed how I look at the world and how I look at people's behavior, how I look at myself, how I look at my own behavior. And it's empowered me to know that if I don't like the way something is going, I have options that are not passive aggressive, right? Because love my parents, but that's a lot of what I was taught growing up. You know, if you don't like how things are going, here's how you be passive aggressive, right? But techniques of saying, okay, well, you know, this keeps happening and I don't like it. What do I have control over? Oh, I have control over the antecedent. I have control over the consequence, even when it's other people's behavior. Because I was often taught, you know, well, that's somebody else. That's their behavior. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, I don't know, because I can change some antecedents and I can change some consequences. And when I do that, I'm empowered. And that's a lovely thing, whether that's with my child or with my husband or with friends or people on the street. I have more power than I had before. So that's a really lovely thing. I encourage you to write in and tell us what the principles of ABA have taught you in particular. Okay, we always have a topic of the week, and of course I've always hint at it before we get to it. Our topic this entire week has been ABA basics. I think it's worthwhile every once in a while to go right back to the beginning, because I forget. I don't know about the rest of you, but I forget. Just this week in the car, my son and I have been in the car a lot this week, and we're going to be in the car a lot more in the next couple of days. But the CD that I put in, it has the Fatboy Slim song, Praise You, which I'm pretty sure is more of a religious topic, but it became our ABA theme song in our house because it's one of the basics that we have to remember to praise whoever it is that we're trying to change antecedent and consequence and get to the behavior. We have to remember to praise. And so my son and I were in the car last night driving to the open house, and we were doing the whole, you know, I have to praise you thing. Because the song says, I have to praise you like I should. And he says, we've come a long way, baby. Through the hard times and the bad, I have to praise you. And that's really, I think every week I need to be reminded about that, because it's easy to get off track. But when I remember to praise my kid, the compliance is there, and then we get more teaching done, and we have more progress, and we have less of anything that looks like a challenging behavior. So worthwhile to go back to basics. And if your day is in the toilet, put on a little Fatboy Slim, dance around, shake it off, and remember, if your focus is on praising, you're going to get more done today, and you're going to be happier doing it, and it doesn't hurt to dance about it either. There we go, our plug for Fatboy Slim today. Okay, some of the things that we have for you today. I'm so excited because Ashley Colis is back with us this morning for Good Stuff with Ashley. I believe that today we're hearing about the backpacks getting ready for school, and more about pencils. Which pencils and the grips and the weighted thing, because I want to know about this. I gotta hit some of this hard with Jem in the next 2 weeks. We have our school tip, because it's almost time. It is time to go and get some shopping done and pick some things, and we've got some tips about how you might want to look at this. And then, of course, during the next hour, we have Breaking It Down with Angela. Angela Persicke will be here. Both Ashley and Angela Persicke are BCBA's board-certified behavior analysts with extensive experience working with children on the autism spectrum. Angela today is going to be breaking down for us so that we understand all the different techniques that we use in ABA. So when people are talking about doing DTT and they're talking about doing NET, what in the hey nonny are they talking about, and why is it so important to know that all of those things need to get done with our kids? It's not good ABA, and you're not going to get the result that you want unless all of those things and more are on board. So, very exciting show. I've gone over already. Let's take a break, and Ashley Colis is going to be here with some really great stuff. Stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Right now in the studio, we welcome back Ashley Colis, who is here with us usually on Thursday mornings. We call this Great Stuff with Ashley because Ashley is a board-certified behavior analyst, has extensive experience working with children really all over the world, and with autism in particular. And she also has impeccable taste, and she's a brilliant shopper. Those are great things to go together.
Yeah. Have the financial backing to make it really exciting.
Yes, and so we pick Ashley's brain from time to time about really great stuff. Now, I mentioned that we were going to be talking about pencils and backpacks, but it's really too much to cover, and we've got some good stuff to talk about backpacks next week. So next Thursday, we're going to talk about the backpacks, but right now, we want to talk about pencils and what to do. I didn't realize what a big deal this is for school. So help us to understand what we need to know.
Well, I think that for some parents, they get frustrated because of their kids' handwriting. And there are different issues with handwriting. It can be legibility. It can be how much pressure your child is putting on the pencil, so how light or dark the markings are. Other issues can be ripping the paper, putting way too much pressure. So every parent has different concerns, and pencil grips are a really great thing to mitigate some of those.
Okay.
So there are all different types of pencil grips, and they target comfort, and they target the appropriate grip and placement of the fingers.
Okay.
And so by that I mean, yes, you can have a grip, but if you're holding a pen up here like this, you're going to have a lot less control over what you're doing versus having a grip that stays on, and so a parent or a teacher can place it on so that the child is holding the pencil in the correct part of the pencil.
Yeah.
So the there are different types. Also, if you have a left-handed child, you have to make sure that you're getting a pencil grip for a lefty. Okay. They're not always the same.
Interesting, because I'm a lefty.
Right.
And we did pencil grips for a while, and then they went away, and I think we need them back again because he's not holding the pencil right anymore.
Right, and they're also, it helps with the placement of your wrist as well.
Okay.
So for kids who have trouble with that, they even use a pencil grip, you can use a slanted board.
Okay.
But there are the pencil grips that you might see at the store are ones that are shaped like a triangle.
Right.
Or there are ones that they look like a big blob, and they have places where you can place your fingers.
Yes.
And there are ones that have places where you can place your fingers that have holes, so your child can actually be touching the pencil still.
Okay.
And so you can eventually fade that. And I think those ones are actually really cool.
Okay.
There's a great website called therapro.com.
Okay.
THERAPRO.
Okay.
And they have everything that you can think of.
Okay. So you could buy each one of those. But is there a difference? Like, are they pretty much equal and even, except that the one is better at fading, or is the triangle for a certain grip and the other one for?
Well, we always want to use a tripod grasp.
Right.
So we want to get the 2 fingers and the thumb on the writing instrument, and we want to get the proper placement on the instrument.
What is the proper placement? How far away?
You want to have it lower down. You don't want to have it in the middle.
Okay.
Because this is not enough control. This is definitely not enough control. This pen is going to be going all over the place.
Okay.
So you want to have it down towards the bottom.
Okay.
This is more control, and it's coming up through this area of your finger.
Resting in there. Okay.
Between your thumb and pointer.
Okay.
So, see, I even have a little bit of an odd grip. I put my finger below, but this is what's comfortable for me, and my writing is very legible with that. It's difficult for me to hold it this way.
Okay.
I get more tired. So
as long as all 3 of those fingers are touching, it's pretty okay.
Because if you tried holding a pen like this, and this is what you see our kids doing a lot of, or this, when they're younger.
Yeah.
And that's a sign that their fine motor just hasn't developed to where it needs to be.
Jem is really trying to just do it with the pincer, without the tripod.
So if you just hold the pen with your thumb and forefinger, you just don't feel like you have enough strength either. There's not this.
Yeah, he's doing this.
Yeah, this is a lot of strength that's coming all the way from here. That's going to add control.
Okay.
So I would have a much easier time writing like this than I would just 2 fingers. I mean, this is not very much. It's very flimsy.
Yeah, and then you know what? That might be what he's doing. But I know he's doing it with 2 fingers. It might be that it's 2 fingers, but it's the middle finger.
Right.
But he needs to get all 3 of them on there.
And that's for strength and control.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at. The strength and control is going to help with legibility, making sure that we're applying the right pressure. And so there are all different pencil grips, and you have to try them to see what's comfortable. There are some that are really uncomfortable.
Okay.
And it depends on you and the size of your fingers, the size of your child's fingers. And there are some that are just like gel, and so your child can grip it and it kind of forms to their fingers. There are ones that are silicone, and there are ones that are foam.
Okay.
So those are other choices.
Great.
I ordered a sampler pack for us to look at.
Okay.
So that we could play with some of them.
Okay.
And so maybe we can bring those in next time and just show them.
Great.
And so you definitely need to try them and think about your left-handed child and try them with the pencil that you're going to be using. So that's another thing, is if you try it on a regular pencil, like a wooden pencil, and then your child's using a mechanical pencil at school, it's not going to work out.
Right.
So you have to make sure that your supplies are consistent and you get more than one. So if your child's going to be using a grip, they should use it in math, in spelling, in history. They should have it with them the whole time. So they're really practicing that tripod grasp and gaining control. And there are other things that you can do also to help with handwriting, like Dyson mats that you can put under the paper that help with pressure.
Okay.
So you just have to kind of assess where your child is and what your target is. So is my target that I want my child to write more legibly? Then maybe we're looking at a control issue and speed. Or is it their writing is so light, it looks like it's been erased.
Right.
Then it's pressure. So we might be looking at using a mat.
Okay.
Or is it spacing. So then we'd have to use something different. But the pencil grip is really great for all those things.
Okay, and I would imagine that you can enlist the help of your OT to help you to figure out what the issue is and give you some different things to work on as well.
Yeah, and you'll notice that with our kids, they are doing a lot of gluing and cutting and coloring, and so all those things can be really hard if they lack fine motor strength and skills. So there are different types of scissors that you don't put your fingers in them, you squeeze them this way. Oh. So OTs have all those really cool things. They also like to use weighted pencils. Okay. And so I'm going to have you hold on to that. Let's take a break, and then I'm going to have you come back and just talk about the weighted pencils. Is that okay? Yeah. All right, so stick with us. We're going to be right back after these messages.
Hi guys, for the month of August, I figured we'd do some fun in the sun activity. We're going to make our very own frozen bowling game. It's super fast and super easy. I was inspired by some lessons I saw in skills. Alright, so let's get to it. The materials you'll be needing are water, water bottles, balloon, and food coloring, which is always optional. First step you're going to do is make your bowling ball, since it'll have to freeze overnight. The first thing I'm going to do is take my balloon and put a few drops of food coloring in it. This is optional. If you don't have food coloring or your child has an allergy to it, don't use it, but I thought it'd be fun to make everything super colorful. So, I have my food coloring. I'm going to put a few drops in here. And then, take this to the sink and fill it up with water and tie a knot. Here's my balloon filled with water and the food coloring. I'm going to take this and place it in the freezer with some towels just so it holds its shape better. Our next step is to make the bowling pins. I have 10 recycled water bottles that I've refilled with water. Now I'm going to put some food coloring in them. Straight to the center at full speed. Light will surround you in a blink of an eye. Now that my bowling ball is frozen and my pins have been filled with water, let's go outside and play with these. See all the colors in the sky tonight. It's time to let the sunshine hide. I hope you and your family have fun with the frozen bowling game like I did with my friend Emily. Well, until next time, craft on, guys. Bye. Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our really special guest right now is Ashley Colis. We call this Great Stuff with Ashley, and Ashley is here to talk with us about weighted pencils. This is something we've heard about. What are they and when might we use them? So a weighted pencil it can be a pencil that has added weight on the inside, or it can be a pencil that you add weight to externally. Mm-hmm. We use them, or an occupational therapist might use them to build up strength, fine motor strength. So it's heavier, and it does slow your child down, but it's going to help them to build up this strength so that they have more of a grip and they're gripping their pencil with a stronger grip. Okay, now that's why people will advocate using them, but you had mentioned during the break that you checked in the research on it, and what does the research say about the weighted pencils? There is not very much research to support that they're effective, that their use is effective. They do highlight that pencil grips and slanted boards are effective, but they're not something that we have evidence to support as something that you must use or should use. But that being said, it doesn't mean it won't work for your child. It might. But we definitely want to make sure that we're using those pencil grips, because those have been shown to be really effective at building those strengths. Okay, great. So you can try the weighted pencil, but if your child lacks the strength, then it accommodates for that. And so you might not be able to fade it completely, but that's totally okay. You can use a pencil grip for the rest of your life. That's not the end of the world. No one's going to know the difference. Okay, great. Thank you so much. We appreciate having illuminated on the weighted pencil issue, because I heard about these and went, we didn't do the weighted pencil. I'm not sure why. So now we know. Thank you so much. You're welcome. All right, and next week you're going to come back and you're really going to take the backpacks from A to Z for us and talk about what because apparently there is a difference about, what's good for your child in terms of organizing and to be wearing, because some of those backpacks get heavy. They put those books in them, and we don't want to have back problems to deal with as well. well. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back after these messages.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi there, I'm Lisa Ackerman. Welcome to the show. So the goal of today, we're going to make meatballs. Let's get started. So again, I'm going to take roughly a pound of my ground organic turkey, and I'm going to add in the secret vegetable. So if your kid doesn't like vegetables, don't cook in front of them, okay? Have them watch a movie or something. But you definitely want to make sure they're not watching, because then they won't eat it. So, and here we go with the egg. And our breadcrumbs. I'm just adding salt and pepper to taste. If you think about kids' shapes and sizes, you want to think small shapes, small hands. So your oven should be preheating at about 400 degrees. We're going to kick into the oven here and look at our meatballs. I did flip them halfway through the 20-odd minute. So we'll put, just like Julia Child's, there's our finished product right there. These are good. Cooking is easy. You don't have to be afraid of it. But we want to hear from you. If you can let us know what recipes are important to you, maybe convert a recipe from a traditional flour or gluten-based to a gluten-free or an allergy-free, we're here to help. So you get to us. You can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. You can reach out on Facebook at facebook.com/autismlive, or reach out at Taka Now. So I know you're having a great day. I had a lot of fun cooking with you in the kitchen, but I'll tell you before we end, I got to have more meatballs. Have a great day.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. It's time to do our school tip for the week. We've been talking for the last couple of weeks about how important it is to set our kids up for success, and that there are things that go along with this antecedent, that's our jargon of the day, that we can do beforehand. What can we do before so that we can start over. I'm so excited about this. We want to set our kids up for success. That's what we want to do. And we can do that right now with some of the different things that we do. So right now, it's hard and fast back to school sales pretty much everywhere you go. I would suggest spending a couple of minutes looking online or looking at your Sunday paper and looking at what some of the sales are to make sure that you're being cost effective. Sometimes it can be tricky because you end up spending money that you wouldn't have, because some places will have a deal and say, well, you can get this notebook for a penny, and then the fine print is that you have to buy $5 worth of something that you don't need. Well, $5 worth of something you don't need, in order to get a notebook for a penny, you could spend $1 on the notebook and be ahead, right? So you have to weigh these things. But I really want to drive home this week that this idea that in order for something, for a good habit to happen over and over and over again, there has to be a paycheck, right? We've talked about the challenging behavior. There's always a paycheck for that. But good behavior, to see it again and again and again, there has to be a paycheck. So we want to build up in our children the idea that school is something that they want to engage in good behavior. This week is the time to get in place whatever the system is that you're going to do, whether it's a token economy that you're going to do, and introduce it to your child and say, this is what you're going to take to school. In fact, we'll do one of those next week, a new token economy, but this is the system. Here's what you can work for. Here's how you can earn it. And then have some good things. Keep this in mind when you're doing back to school shopping that go along with it, that you're building up, that the child has pride in themselves. So whether it's the new school shoes that you're buying to go off to school, or the backpack, or the pencil grip, or, you know, the outfit that you're buying, make sure, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to make a big deal about it, but make sure that it's something that makes your child feel good. I always think about, you know, if we're going someplace, if we have something that's big and important and we want to do well, what do we wear? We try to dress in a way that we feel good about ourselves. We try to, I'm going to a wedding this weekend and it's in the woods on top of a mountain, and somebody was talking about what they were going to wear, and somebody mentioned, nobody's wearing heels to this wedding. Everybody's going to be in flats, and somebody said, I just don't want to be in Spanx in the woods. That's not my idea of a fun time. Well, we don't want to send our kids in Spanx to school either. So make sure that your child is wearing something that's comfortable. If your child is bothered by tags, there's all kinds of tagless shirts that you can be getting for them. Make sure that it's soft and that it's comfortable and it's colors that they respond well to and that they feel good. I always say to my husband, it's so important to me on that first day of school that from head to toe that my son is sitting there and feeling proud of himself, and that this is a special occasion, and my husband and I dress up for the first day of school because I want him to get that this is a big deal and that we're proud of you and that exciting things happen at school and that it's one of the most amazing journeys that you can go on, and it means so much to mom that mom dresses up and dad dresses up and we take pictures, and this is a cool thing. Now, if your child doesn't like to have pictures taken, then you're not going to institute that now. You're going to work up towards them liking getting pictures taken. But make sure, my son thinks, if we're taking pictures, this is a cool time. We do that at Disneyland. So if we're taking pictures on the first day of school, then this is something that's definitely in the realm of fun. And we always like to have some sort of thing, some sort of event that doesn't exhaust him, that happens after school, the first day of school, so that we drive home. Man, it's fun to go back to school. So think about what you're buying and have it. Don't spend a fortune. Don't spend too much money, but make sure there's something like the cool colored pencil and the cool tri-grip pencil grip. And, and that won't cost you, that's less than $3 right there, but it means something to the child. They're going to be more willing to do what they have to do with the pencil if it's a really cool pencil. And there are some cool pencils out there, right? And you can do the same thing with whatever you need to do for your child. It's really important for me that my son, negotiate the playground really well. And sometimes that's the shoes and the T-shirts. Wish it wasn't, but it is. So spend your money wisely, but get things that are reinforcing to your child, that instill this idea that school is fun and something to look forward to. And we'll start on token economies next week. Stick with us. I'm mush mouth today. What's up? We're going to be back after these messages.
Shannon, at Act Today, we're always looking for fun, creative ways that the public can help us raise money for those with autism that can't afford treatment and care.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, right now, Paper Clouds Apparel has a really great promotion that they're doing. They feature limited edition T-shirts that are designed by people who are on the autism spectrum, and they give the proceeds to a wonderful organization. Right now, it goes to benefit Autism Care and Treatment Today.
And guess who that artist is? By none other than your son, Jim. And he has made an adorable robot illustration.
And you can buy the T-shirt, the tote bag, or the hat right now by going to www.papercloudsapparel.com. And as we said, 50% of the proceeds go to Autism Care and Treatment Today. To what kinds of things, Nancy?
It's going to fund treatment like social skills, school tuition, ABA therapy, safety equipment, summer camp tuition. I could go on.
Yes, and she will too. But in any case, if she just talks about it, it won't happen. You have to go there and get a T-shirt, a hat, or a tote bag. In fact, get all of them.
It's a fun way to raise money for those less fortunate.
Welcome back. It's time for some autism news. There was a really disturbing case this week in the news about autism. Caroline Karimi, who was an 18-year-old with autism who went missing on Monday afternoon. She was last seen at her home and then she was gone. And of course, a lot of times these stories are so disturbing because the news isn't always good. I'm thrilled to be able to give you some good news. There's Caroline. Caroline also worked as a hospital volunteer here in Los Angeles. And Caroline was found safely last night in Wyoming with two of her friends. She's an 18-year-old, and we don't yet know all the ins and outs of how she got all the way to Wyoming with two of her friends, but she's okay, and that is the good news. 18 years old, and I'm sure that there will be many discussions with her family about that, but at least she is okay, and I love it when we can give you a happy ending to a story. So Caroline Karimi has been found. She is safe. She was in Wyoming. I think it brings home to all of us that as our kids are aging up and getting to a certain age, that we don't stop worrying, and that stuff happens. And at least this particular time, there's a happy ending to it. But I'm sure there will be many discussions about, if you're going to Wyoming, you need to tell somebody. And what a happy discussion that will be. I wish that was the ending of every story that we feature with a missing kid. So we'll take heart with that, and we're going to take a break and come back with some more news, so stick with us.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
Talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT, continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back to Autism Live. More news that literally just came to us. A new study that just came out yesterday that demonstrates that kids with autism, according to this study, benefit from early intervention regardless of the method. Now, that's the headline. Okay, so let's delve a little bit further into this. And I wish we were doing a show tomorrow with Dr. Tarbox, because he would have a lot of interesting things to say about this, I'm sure. So that's the headline. And a lot of times we walk away with just the headline, right? Kids with autism benefit from early intervention regardless of the method. And you would think, oh, okay, then it really doesn't matter what I get. That's not really what the article says if you delve in a little bit further. It says a new study has found out that it's the quality of a teaching program, not the model of instruction, that seems to be the most important to a student's success. That means that parents shouldn't fret when the local or available program is not a particular type, as long as it's considered good, said Samuel Oden, co-author of the study and director of the Frank Porter Graham Child Development Institute at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Thank you, Samuel. Further we go on, it says, it talks about how it's 1 in 50 in every school child. It says the new research recently published online in a Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders showed that two widely used comprehensive treatment methods called LEAP and TEACH were no better than high-quality special education preschool programs. So nobody compared an ABA-based program, but the headline says it doesn't matter what the method is. Now, here's what tears my ticket about this. Why are we comparing a bunch of things and we didn't bother to compare the one thing that we know is effective? The one thing that has studies that show that is effective, why didn't you throw that in? And why are we making this blanket statement, oh, it really doesn't matter what method you get, because a lot of people won't read beyond that. But we didn't bother to put the most effective teaching method in there to compare that, because maybe the headline would have been different. This makes me mad. I'm just saying. Okay, now if you're not familiar with LEAP or TEACH, LEAP stands for Learning Experiences and Alternative Program for preschoolers and their parents, and it's designed to build more on an early education curriculum with specific features that support children with autism. TEACH represents training and education for autistic and related communication handicapped children and creates an environment that focuses on characteristics of autism, he added. While LEAP programs tend to be half-day programs, TEACH classes typically are about 6 hours a day, and the no particular model programs vary in length according to Odom. Okay. It's really disappointing to me that this research was done in this way. The other thing that's interesting to me, and I don't know because it's at the University of Chapel Hill, North Carolina at Chapel Hill, TEACH is a method that was created by one institution, and there are lots of people who have tried to replicate it without a great deal of success, and they do not have the right to call it a TEACH program unless they've done all of the elements. And I know I've talked to some TEACH people before, and they get really offended when people, so I don't know if they use the actual TEACH program or a TEACH lookalike, which is not the same thing, and the TEACH people would have issues with that as well. In any case, ABA was not compared, and I don't know what the point of that is. But when we make blanket statements, and of course it's the reporter who's saying kids with autism benefit from early intervention regardless of method, the asterisk there should be, but they didn't compare the one thing to be found effective. Thank you so much for nothing. Oh, it's Thursday and I'm fatoutzed. I'm a little angry. Anyway, moving on. It's time for us to go to the A word. This is a really exciting ongoing documentary that we like to show. We like to feature one episode every day, and we feature one episode for an entire week. It looks at one family, and a little boy named Jack Riley who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. At this point in the series where we're going to watch today, he's already turned 3, and he has had an addition to his family. He's now a big brother. And one of Jack Riley's core issues from the beginning that the parents talked about, one of their biggest areas of concern, was his aversion to foods. And they have been working extensively with Jack Riley and working on systematic desensitization to make food fun, to make it less scary, to very slowly move the dial. Sometimes it feels like you're moving incrementally, but if it gets the job done, if that's what it takes, it's worth it, right? So take a look. Jack Riley, always before, if you showed him a banana, would burst into tears. And we're really at breakthrough status because Jack Riley is able to now eat a banana and take a look at some of the ways and take a look at how they dealt with food. This is the A word.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
Let's go with Mrs.
That's a great idea.
Let's really build first.
Okay, Mom, what would you like to build?
Let's build a building.
Okay. Right now, Jessica and Jack Riley are doing constructive play with Legos. What it does is teach a child how to imitate others and construct items out of their imagination.
I need a window. Where's my window?
Jack Riley is building things from his own mind, things that he's been taught before and he's recalling on his own.
Another one.
What is that supposed to be? Is it a camera or glasses or what is it?
Camera.
It's a camera? A special camera?
Here's my camera. Click, click.
Woo! That's so cool. I also wanted to do functional pretend play too. So with the kitchen set, to see how his conversation skills are. I haven't actually done that in the past couple weeks. What we're really focusing on for that is not just the actions of having him imitate, but rather the narration of it, so that it's more appropriate. Like he can narrate what and tell us what he's doing in relation to what he's playing with, instead of us just modeling it for him. So we'll see.
What do you want to eat?
Can I have corn on the cob and some turkey?
Careful, it's hot. Oh, it's hot.
Blow on it.
Blow on it.
Okay, looks delicious.
I want to eat anything else.
Yeah, I want dessert now. Oh, here,
Give it to her. Here's your dessert, Suzanne. We need some more fruit. Here's a fruit.
Oh, thank you. That looks delicious. I can't wait to eat it.
It's cold.
It's cold? Oh, good. Don't have to blow on it. Nom, 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 nom.
Do you like it? Do you like it?
I love it. Thank you. It's a perfect call for a dessert. Nom, 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 nom. Would you like to have some of my fruit that you gave me? Which one would you like to have? Oh, the orange. Delicious.
How did it taste? Look at her.
How'd it taste?
It's good.
It's good?
I'm eating.
I know. This is delicious.
Banana. Banana. Here's your banana.
Thank you for the banana.
Jack.
Welcome back. That was the A word. I can't emphasize enough how much you can use this as a resource, and encourage you to go to their Facebook page and to jump into the series. Use it how you need it. If there's something that a lot of times you guys ask for videos about the things that we talk about, and you can go and search the keywords on their YouTube site and see things. Search toilet training. If you're getting ready to toilet train and you have been hearing about the Fox-Nazarene method and you want to see it in motion, but in a really quick way, go on the A word and search toilet training, and you're going to see some really cool things. If you're interested in language techniques, or the whole cornucopia, or if you just want to look and see what an ABA program looks like. In just a few minutes, we're going to bring Angela Persicke in here, and I asked her to talk specifically about some of the different things that go along with ABA, because it drives me crazy, and I've talked about this a little bit all week long, when a lot of times there isn't good information for parents to find easily about ABA and what it looks like. If you're a visual person, and I'm a visual person, I want to know what it looks like. What's it going to look like in my house? What's it going to look like with my child? And I think a lot of us in this age of YouTube, you go on and you put ABA in on YouTube, and 9 times out of 10, what you're going to see when you see an actual video of ABA being done, you're going to see a DTT moment. And if you don't know that DTT is just one of the things that you do, then you start to think that, and a lot of people do think, that ABA and DTT are synonymous, and they are not. DTT is one element of ABA. So Angela's going to come in and talk about that with us, because it is one of my biggest pet peeves of figuring out how do we get this information to parents so that what a well-rounded array of things are going to happen with your child that are going to help them to be well-rounded. So, and I do think that one way that you can see that is by going on to the A word and looking at what Jack Riley does, and that, he's not endlessly sitting at a table and being presented with stimuli that's only on cards. He isn't. They're at the park, and they're walking down the sidewalk, and they're doing all kinds of things. They by no means get to go and do all the things that Jack Riley gets to do outside of the house, right? Because he doesn't have a film crew following him every day. He's got a film person following him once a week, or maybe twice a month. So, but I do think that they do a really good job of showing you an overall picture of what happens with a family when you're doing early intensive ABA. And I know many of you have written in and said, this is awesome, we love the A word. How about if we see this with an older child? If somebody is starting older, and I want you to know that that is in pre-production. We're hoping to be able to start bringing that to you in a relatively short period of time, but it's going to take a couple of months. So, very exciting. In any case, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, board-certified behavior analyst, BCBA Angela Persicke, is going to be here with us, and we call it Breaking Down with Angela. She's going to break it down for us, this ABA thing, so that we know what are we talking about and why is it so effective. Stick with us.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Piché, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, they wouldn't be able to receive the service dog, so we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. We underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Joining us in the studio right now is board-certified behavior analyst Angela Persicke. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me be here.
Always. We love this segment. We call it Breaking It Down with Angela, and a lot of times we just ask you to tear apart something. And I love that you have a perspective that is part research because you're the assistant director of the Autism Research Group.
Yes.
But you have extensive experience working with children on the autism spectrum, and a lot of times you're an instrumental part of crafting a study to get at what is efficient and effective teaching a child a certain skill. And we're going to talk about ABA with you in just a moment, but I wanted to stop and briefly talk about this event that we were both at last night. You have recently moved offices to this new facility in Thousand Oaks, and you were doing the open house. We shared last week that this was going to happen, and I did get to go with my son last night. It was really kind of cool.
It was great. It was really exciting. It was more of a welcome for everybody, and saying we are here in the community. We are a resource for everyone, and we want to show you this great place because it's going to be a center-based facility, as well as still giving some home-based treatments, but also it houses CARD's Research and Development Department, which is also the new nonprofit Autism Research Group. And I believe they are also going to do some treatment of feeding disorders there as well, because Dr. Adele Nadowski, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, they're considered experts in the field of feeding disorders, so we're going to offer those services too. And so it was just a chance for us to share with the community who we are, what we do, and that we're here.
Yeah, and it was beyond standing room only.
Yes.
It was as packed as it could be. I was saying during the break that at one point I couldn't get into the room where the speakers were, and there was a little bit of a bottleneck, and there was just a little bit of space further over behind the room that was standing room also. It wasn't sit-down room, and so I started this sort of like my idea was like an insurrection or something that I was saying, let's all go together so we don't have to be embarrassed. All these parents, I was saying, let's walk together and we'll walk to the other side of the room and it'll be okay and I'll lead the charge, okay? Are we all going to do it? And everybody was looking at me like, what? Leave us alone. And I was like, no, it's going to be great. We're all going to go and then we can all get further in the room. And then I was like, I'm leading the charge, and I walked and nobody came with me. And sometimes that happens, you know? But ultimately I got to the other side of the room and I got a chair. So for all of you who didn't come with me, you know, if you come with me, you might have gotten a chair too, but I don't blame you. Sometimes I'm that way too. I'm like, I don't want to walk across the room and be a spectacle.
Exactly, and it was difficult to hear from down the hallway, of course.
Yeah, and I wanted to hear.
And it was really exciting. Dr. Jonathan Tarbox spoke, as well as Dr. Graham Pichet.
Yes.
And she was there and was able to speak to the services at CARD and the new office and everything, as well as Ethan.
Ethan spoke.
And that was amazing. Everybody loved him. He's such a character.
And I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but for those of you who are just tuning in, Ethan is 10. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He was deemed recovered at the age of 6 after 4 years of intensive behavioral intervention with the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. And so inspirational. I mean, because he got up and he spoke a little bit, and then his mom got up and spoke, and everybody's face hurt, and people were crying.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that, but I did. There were parents who were crying, and as the mom was saying, you know, this wasn't easy, and especially she said, you know, one of the hardest things is that people meet him now and say, oh, I'm pretty sure he didn't have autism at some point. I loved the audience reaction, and even Ethan went, oh,
yeah.
Like what a horrible thing to say, you know. But it was really inspirational to see. I think it's important for parents to see what's possible.
Exactly.
And not that anybody is saying that that's the case with every child. I mean, and I shared earlier at the top of the show that my son is 10 too. He started later than Ethan did. And that's, you know, that's another one of those things about this is how important that early intervention is. But, you know, my son hasn't gotten where Ethan is, but can I tell you how great my son is doing?
Like amazing, yeah.
You know, and so all of our kids are individuals, and I hope people know that, it's great to shoot for recovery, and I think that people should, but recovery isn't the only game in town. Progress really is the only game in town.
Exactly.
But it's good to see what recovery looks like. It really is. It even is good for me to stand there and go, okay, look at Ethan. This is what he does that my son doesn't have yet. All right, we're going to work on that, you know? So really important. And then everybody broke up into groups, and people had an opportunity to ask some questions, and I know I got to talk to some parents. I bet you did too.
Yes, many parents.
Really, really exciting, and it was thrilling to hear from them about what they had been doing, why they had come, and it was the full gamut. I talked to parents who have not done any ABA before and said, I wanted to see what this was. And I talked to parents who had done ABA at other places and said, I've heard about what CARD is, and I wanted to come and see. And I talked to parents who are about to start with CARD and didn't really know how excited they should be. And were like, this is really cool. I don't know how we found this, but how neat is it and they were really thrilled to be starting and a little overwhelmed.
Yes, it was a little overwhelming, but there was such a range of people there. There were also some school teachers, some speech therapists who stopped in, and that, which is great for working on our ability to collaborate with the community as well. And it was just a really great event, and we're also planning to potentially have some of these every couple months too, so that people who didn't get a chance necessarily to come to this one, and maybe a smaller scale, but still allow people in the community to come and see what it's about. And also we wanted, we shared with people last night, but also in general, we want people to come and see the center. So if you have a chance and you want to stop by, feel free and come and stop by, and we'll give you a tour and show you what we do. Yeah,
and they're really beautiful facilities. And at one point I was standing there with Nancy Alspaugh Jackson's husband, Reed, who's an amazing dad. And our kids were playing in the, there were several different playrooms so they could go. When my son initially went into the playroom, he turned around and came right back out. Like I signed him in, and he went in and he came right back. He goes, Mom, we got to talk. And I said, what? Did you just walk into the room with all the little kids? He goes, there's just little kids. And I said, no, you just got to walk a little further. And then they showed him where there were a bunch of older kids watching Cars, and then he was thrilled. And then he found the computer room, and forget it. That
there we go.
Like, where is he? I need to get him back. But Reed and I were looking around, and Reed didn't know that it was also going to be a center-based. And so for some of us old-timers, it was like, look at the future. Look at the future and how amazing this is, and how great it is that this is an opportunity for families, and saw some of the rooms that are set up like classrooms. I was like, look at that. It's so cute. Really exciting.
Yeah, it is really exciting. We're planning to have somewhat of a mock classroom for children who are in that age where they're about to be transitioning, so we can actually teach some of those classroom behaviors.
In a realistic setting.
Exactly. Paying attention to one person who's giving the instruction in the beginning of the room, not just the person next to you. Those types of things. Raising your hand and taking turns, and actually being able to be with peers is really, really important. And those are some of the opportunities we have having the center-based program.
I mean, one of the things that we talked about a lot on the show is about the amount of focus that it takes to be in a classroom with other kids, and because other kids are going to engage in behaviors whether they're fully included in a classroom with neurotypical peers, or there's other kids on the spectrum, and our kids' ability to focus and inhibit wanting to respond to what's happening next to them, and to be able to do that in a real setting. Very cool. Awesome. Very exciting.
Very exciting.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to put Angela to work here in breaking down for us all the different disciplines of ABA so that we can gain a really good understanding of the fact that it's not just one thing. So Angela's going to help us to get a grip around all of that. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and this is my son, Jem. We're here today at the Home Depot. You might know that Home Depot is famous for giving free classes to adults on lots of things like tiling and other home crafts. Well, they also have free classes for kids as well. It's called the Kids Workshop. We love doing that, don't we, Jem?
Yeah.
It's cool. So come on inside with us and let's do a craft.
Yay.
The Kids Workshop is a program that's been around with Home Depot almost since we've been a company, and it's been developed to allow kids in the community to come in and give them an opportunity to build something, to be able to create something, and be able to take just simple wood pieces and put them together with nails and hammers and screwdrivers and then paint them.
So you do this every first Saturday of the month.
Any Home Depot that you go to on the first Saturday of every month between 9 and 12, you can join different associates throughout different stores and build these projects with these kids.
And do they have to do anything before beforehand, or can they just show up on that Saturday?
All they need to do is show up. We have all the tools, all the materials that the kids will need. We have aprons that we give to the kids that they can take home and maintain their pins. They get pins on a regular basis for completing projects. With that, they can keep track of how many projects they've done. And
it's all free.
It's all absolutely free, all provided.
Which is wonderful. And Wilson, I have to say, you guys devised this for all kids to be able to do this.
Correct.
What I particularly love about it as an autism mom, it gives my child a place to come and learn a new skill, to socialize with kids of all kinds.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. Home Depot is definitely loves to be involved with the community and bring the community in to work with us. That's what we love to do.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Quick note, you just saw the Home Depot video. I want to remind you that it's the first Saturday of every month, so that's this Saturday. If you don't have other plans on Saturday morning, you've got a Home Depot that's somewhere close to you, because they're like Starbucks, they're everywhere now. So we want to encourage you to go to your local Home Depot on the Saturday morning, this Saturday. It's free. Don't you love free? And there are so many different ways that you can use it as a teaching moment with your child. Go there. They have a craft that is somehow appropriate. It might be something back to school, or it might have something to do with summer. There will be tables and all the equipment there to do the craft. There's instructions, and you can meet your child at whatever level there. There's an opportunity to socialize with other kids, make friends. Home Depot is great because they usually have first the craft center where you craft it, and then they have a paint table where your child can go and paint. And if your child has sensory issues, maybe you skip that entirely. It's up to you. And they have also been really great in the past. If I'm there and my son's having an off day, I can say to them, can we take this home and work on it? And they're thrilled. They give a little, they'll give you an apron and sometimes goggles, depending on the Home Depot, and they give you a pin for each and every one of the crafts that you do so they can decorate their apron. Make sure, if your child is younger, save the pin for when they're older, because they are on the sharp side. But it's a lovely reinforcer, and it comes in a little plastic thing, and they feel like they got something cool. So it is a lovely reinforcer, and it works on fine motor skills and social skills and following directions. It's a very, very good thing. We thank Home Depot for their kids' workshops. Okay. Having said all that, our very special guest right now in the studio, board-certified behavior analyst, Angela Persicke, is here with us. And Angela, we've asked you today to give us a quick rundown of ABA and all the different techniques that are used within ABA so that a parent can understand when somebody says we're going to be doing ABA with your child, what it should entail and what it should look like.
Okay. I first want to start by backing up a little bit to talk about what ABA actually is.
Okay.
And ABA is within the science of behavior and its application called behavior analysis. And then ABA is the application of that, so applied behavior analysis. And this really involves application to socially significant behaviors. But also ABA is also the tradition of using science to determine what types of procedures and tools would be best effective in different settings, and publishing those and disseminating those. That is ABA. It is this broader field, and it does not actually just apply to autism. It applies to anything anybody does. If a person is doing it, it's behavior, and it's within the subject matter of behavior analysis.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, there is also behavior analytic practice within the field, behavior analytic service delivery. And that's what you'll see with all of our agencies. You'll see behavior analytic service delivery. It's based on the principles of behavior analysis.
Okay.
So when someone says, we do ABA, it's really you're doing a behavior analytics service delivery, because ABA is a broader field.
All right.
And does not just apply to the field of autism necessarily.
Okay.
So within that, we have all types of procedures and different methods for teaching. So you'll hear early intensive behavior therapy, and that would include discrete trial training, maybe naturalistic environmental training. Some include pivotal response training. And so these, so PRT, NET, DTT, there are all these different methods of teaching that are based on applied behavior analysis and the science. So they have been thoroughly evaluated in the scientific arena to show that they are effective procedures. Okay. So that is really like a broad analysis of what ABA is, and then to where you are with your child in the home when you have a supervisor come in and therapists come in. That would be the service delivery part. But then we get into the different methods of delivering treatment.
So if I could recap for just a second and tell me if I'm right in this, it's like there's a big umbrella of ABA, and within that there are many different techniques that you would use to apply the principles of ABA.
Exactly.
But it has to be specific to what's going to make the most effective teaching in that moment with that child, depending on where they are skill-wise.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about this field, is that it's individualized to the person in their environment and what is going on with that person at that time. We are analyzing those events around that person specifically, but it is all based on the principles of behavior, which are very well researched and known to be effective. And so exactly, there are many different procedures, but it is based on the individual.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to take apart each one of those things, the DTT, the NET, the pivotal response training, and talk briefly about what they are and what instances you might use them and what they look like, because I think this is where some of the confusion is, where people start to think that they see one aspect, one teaching technique, and they think that's all of ABA. Yes. And then we get into not being successful. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Angela's going to break that down for us. Stick with us. What do you think about ABA treatment?
ABA is the one that's documented, but I think that's what I think is important with little kids, the intensity. If this kid's 2, 3, and 4 years old, he needs 20 or 30 hours a week of intensive early intervention, working one-to-one with an effective teacher. And an effective teacher knows kind of how just hard to push, because you've got to stretch these kids. If you don't stretch them somewhere, they don't advance. You push on them too hard, they go into sensory shutdown. The worst thing you could do with an autistic 2-year-old is to do nothing with them and just let them sit there rocking. And when I was very young at 2.5, ABA-type things were used on me, but it wasn't called ABA in that day. You know, my teacher would hold up a cup, and she'd speak slowly. You got to speak slowly to these kids because there's auditory processing problems. She'd say cup, and then I'd say cup, and the teacher would praise me. You know, that's very similar to ABA. You know, ABA in its original form is a little kids program. The whole idea is you're trying to get language jump-started. And I like the more flexible kinds of ABA. You got different levels of kids. I had ABA type stuff when I was young, but then after I pulled out of it, I didn't have to go through elaborate things of getting ready for school. I still have this habit now today. I lay my clothes out the night before that I'm going to wear, so when I'm sleepy I can just get them on. And then you have other individuals where they've got to do very structured, breaking down the task analysis. This is where after you get out of the little kids and you get them talking, they kind of diverge into different levels of functioning. And a type of ABA program that would be suitable for a very severe kid would not be something you'd want to do with a mild Asperger kid, because you're going to bore them to death and make them hate school.
Absolutely. Welcome back. In the studio with us right now is board-certified behavior analyst Angela Persicke. She's also the assistant director of the Autism Research Group, has extensive experience working with children on the autism spectrum. We're talking to her about ABA and ABA techniques and asking her she just went through a description of ABA, but now we want her to break down some of the different teaching techniques, what they look like, why we use them, and perhaps why we don't use them within a given moment. So you just talked about DTT and NET and PRT and many other things. Help us.
Yes, okay. So what most people typically think of ABA is this sitting at a table, discrete trial training, DTT. And this is where we're sitting with a child in a specific setting, and it looks very contrived, and it's really focusing on one skill at a time and doing multiple trials of that skill. And of course, including all the procedures such as prompting and reinforcement to make sure learning is actually occurring.
But it's so contrived that I think a lot of times people see a video of it and they think, oh, this is what ABA is.
Yes.
And we get into this discussion about, is it going to turn the child into a robot?
Mm-hmm.
You guys know what this looks like. You see a therapist sitting across the table, and the therapist lays 3 things out and says, touch car. And it's really almost like this, like over manic voice, touch car. And then they do it, and then they go, yay, right? And you go, what in the heck is going on, right?
Yep.
But if you see it within the context of a full ABA program, you start to understand what an amazing starter tool this is.
Exactly. So this is often used with very beginning learners who need that type of structure. Maybe they don't have a lot of language, so when we say something like touch car, it's very simple.
Right.
Simple language. We're using a neutral tone. We're not being too excited. Touch car.
I went a little overboard with mine.
No, you were great. You were great. So, but it sounds very robotic, and a lot of times ABA is criticized because of just that. But taking it as just that small little, a couple-minute video you watch of that specific thing does not even show the extent to which that type of procedure is useful and necessary. The type of procedures within DTT can even be broken down into numerous other procedures, such as errorless learning, and we don't have time to go into all of these today. That's a whole different show. The means of which it is conducted seems very robotic and contrived, but it has its purpose because these children need that type of structure sometimes.
Yes.
And at really high quality programs and good comprehensive programs, they will not just do these trials all day long. It's more like smaller blocks of DTT trials mixed in with some naturalistic environment training, and I'll get into that in just a second, or more some play activities as well. But DTT is like I said, it's often criticized, but it's very effective for a lot of children, and it's often necessary because it allows for multiple learning opportunities, and that's what we're looking for, multiple learning opportunities in a short amount of time. So we're sitting there and we're doing maybe 10 trials a minute, and you can just do the math and calculate that if a child's there for multiple hours a day, like imagine the number of learning opportunities that your child will receive in that amount of time.
But again, to recap, so DT would be used to introduce a skill, but it is step 1 of introducing a skill and teaching a skill. It is not the end step.
No, and it is, and again, it's for specific learners. There are other children who may not need to start with that. Next, I do want to go into pivotal response training, which is also within behavior and applied behavior analysis, and it's a very effective technique that has a lot of research backing, and it's more of a play base.
Okay, let's pause, and then we'll come back and talk about pivotal response. So watch these messages, and we'll be right back after these messages. Hi, we're here with Temple Grandin, and we're going to be asking her some of your questions that you guys have written into us. First of all, Temple, I want to thank you for being with us here today.
No, it's good to be here.
This is a question that I want to know. When you went to the Emmys and you went to all these different events and you were there in your wonderful shirt, was there anybody who tried to talk you into wearing something else, or did they just understand that you needed to be who you were?
Well, I think being eccentric is just fine. I dressed eccentric at the Emmys. Eccentric's fine. being a filthy slob is not fine. Let's look at the latest Mars rover. You got the Mohawk guy that's the head of the expedition. You got the Elvis guy that figured out how to land on the moon and he wears Elvis outfits. I think that's just fine. But you can't be a rude, filthy, dirty slob. That's the thing where draw the line. Eccentric's fine. I remember a guy who was on the spectrum and he taught astronomy at a local college. And he had beautiful astronomy t-shirts and he had long hair with a ponytail this long. And I said to him, don't let anybody cut your ponytail off. You know, wear it with pride, but it must be washed and it must be clean.
There you
and
go.
Neat.
Love it. Did they try to talk you into wearing a dress, or they knew?
Oh no, nobody knew I would wear a dress. I got too much of a farmer tan and would just look just terrible. No, you're not going to get me an evening gown. I did buy some new black pants. I'm going to wear it tonight.
Well, I thought you looked great.
Well, I want to let you know about the shirt award of the Emmys.
Yeah.
That was a Ralph Lauren shirt.
There
okay,
you go.
fashion snubs. And that was a gift from my sister for Christmas.
Welcome back to Autism Live. With us right now, BCBA board-certified behavior analyst Angela Persicke. She's breaking down some of the different techniques that are used under the umbrella of ABA. We just talked about DTT, discrete trial teaching, and now we're going to talk about PRT, pivotal response training. Help us.
Exactly. Okay, pivotal response training is more of a play-based type of treatment, and it's more of a child initiated. So what their goals are really increasing communication, language, positive social skills, which within DTT that's also the goals, but these specifically are what they focus on. They don't necessarily have as much of a comprehensive, but for communication and social skills, this is a really effective procedure, and it involves using the child's motivation. So if the child really wants his teddy bear, excited about his teddy bear, they would focus on increasing communication around the teddy bear. So shaping the child's ability to say teddy, maybe, or bear. So, okay, what do you want the teddy bear? Oh, look at the teddy bear. Let's play with the teddy bear. Say "buh" for bear. You know, and we do this as well in DTT and NET, and so a lot of these overflow into each other. But if someone says they're using this procedure, this is more of what it looks like. And so then if the child makes an approximation towards that, they will give them, you know, what they're motivated to work for, what they want, the bear. Okay. So it's really finding what the child really wants and is excited about and is motivated to get, and then basing the learning opportunities of that session on those.
Okay.
And this is incorporated a lot within DTT, where, like, okay, we're sitting at a table, we're doing DTT, and then we take a break, and then we go play with some toys, and then we use some of these naturalistic techniques such as PRT to see, okay, what does the child walk towards? What does the child want to actually do? Is the child getting his cars out to play with? And then if he's getting his cars out to play with, how can we make this a learning opportunity? So the cars are motivating in that moment. So how can we use those to increase communication, increase play skills and social skills? So, okay, instead of lining the cars up or spinning the wheels, let's race them, and then try to make that into a learning opportunity, and then reinforce those behaviors with what the child is actually motivated to work for. And it's like I said, it's very much built into all of these procedures. But if someone says we primarily focus on PRT, you're going to see a lot more of this play-based, child-initiated type of program, instead of, if they're more of a DTT emphasis, they'll maybe start with a more structured at the table. But most places these days include all of it. You know, they include all procedures that work. and are effective, are known to be effective, and they incorporate them into each child's program.
And quite honestly, what I would want as a parent is for them to look at each task and look at my individual child and decide what the focus should be.
Exactly.
Is this something we want to start with DTT? Is this something we want to focus more on PRT? Is this something that's more NET?
Exactly.
Very child-driven.
Exactly. And for PRT, what I've noticed, this might not be the case for everybody, but because it is not as structured, there are sometimes not as many learning opportunities. That's just from my own perspective, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. It's just because it's focused on what the child is motivated to do at that moment. Doing multiple trials at that time on that specific skill becomes less motivating because the child has already been exposed to it. He's like, I'm not going to keep saying bear. I don't want bear anymore. So there are a whole wide varieties of skills that PRT works on, but as DTT focuses on more learning opportunities of one specific skill or multiple skills across programs in very structured ways.
Great. We then have to talk about NET, because that's sort of the next part of the puzzle. And you can start to see how these things fit together. And in an ideal ABA program, you would see these things coming out whenever they're necessary, and it's likely that they would come out in one session. All of them would come out and work in conjunction. So we're going to pause for a second, go to a break, and come back, and we're going to break down NET, Natural Environment Training. Stick with us.
Just go like this. Can you see me? Puedes mirarme aquí? Okay. Hi, I'm Rebecca Ishida. Say hi, Ethan. Hi. My son was diagnosed with autism in November 2004. With Ethan, almost immediately, we noticed things that were troublesome, that he just didn't sleep. He would vomit in the crib. There were a lot of sensory issues.
Then he'd have like 20 of the trains lined up, and if you came in and took one train out, just meltdown completely.
Guttural instinct is to think that there's nothing wrong. Who wants to look at their child and go, there's something wrong with that child? You don't. You always want to see the best in your child.
Will my kid be able to go to school? Will he interact with his peers? Will he be able to have a healthy relationship? Will he get married? I really thought that autism was like a death sentence. A lot of hope was given to me through CARD. This was my third agency, and the best agency we had. And there was no way in the world I was going to give up CARD because of the gains I saw Ethan was having.
Ah, you did it!
And I remember when Doreen saw us for the evaluation, she says, but by the time he's 6, he will be recovered. And that's exactly what happened.
I'll fix that.
Welcome back. You were just watching Mission Possible, the Ethan Goring edition of it. Ethan was the young boy that we were talking about earlier that's 10 years old that we were at an event yesterday and he spoke. He started his early intervention at 2, was deemed recovered at 6, and an amazing story. You can watch the Mission Possibles. They have their own site and they're also featured on our site as well. And you can see other people's stories, including my son's story. So they're not all about recovery, but they're about progress, and they're designed to be hopeful. So if you need that shot in the arm on a day and you're feeling like, man, I need a little bit of hope here, you can always go look at Mission Possible and know that you're going to see real stories of real families and the help that we got and how it changed our lives. Really, really emotional sometimes, but the truth. I was saying that I didn't really get to meet Ethan's mom. We want to get her to be on the show, but I was saying she's my kind of mom. She wasn't afraid to stand up and say, this was hard. Sometimes it got messy and it got ugly and whatever, but we did what we had to do and it was really worthwhile. So thrilling to see her there. But in any case, Our very special guest right now continues to be Angela Persicke, Board Certified Behavior Analyst. She's talking with us about ABA and some of the different teaching techniques that are used in ABA and what the differences are between them, so that people don't get this very static idea of that ABA looks like one thing. One thing that I've compared it to, the more I've learned about ABA, the more I've begun to think of it as painting. That, you know, you can learn a bunch of techniques, and there are different techniques that you use on every canvas to paint every picture.
Exactly.
But you get better and better at the techniques, and you know more and more about how to use your tools as you do more and more paintings. But it's very creative, it's very fluid, and there is no cookie cutter that will make a beautiful painting.
Yep. And the great thing about what you're saying right now is that if you're sitting there thinking, wow, that would not work for my child, the thing is there are so many, like you said, different procedures that are effective, and they're effective in different ways for different children. And so it's not like this you know, this manner of going about things where, oh, we'll try this and see if it works, and then we'll, you know, maybe try something else, but we're not sure what even would work. It's like, no, we know all of these things work. It's just in what order we need to place them and in what way we need to present them to make them work for your specific child.
And I love the fact that you guys come to the conundrum with that kind of assurance. There is something very soothing about the fact that I remember early on when we started, Jem had not been potty trained, and that seemed like it was going to be this really insurmountable thing. And whenever I talk to you guys about potty training, you guys, you go, no, we know how to deal with potty training. It's just like a duh. You know, for you guys, it's just one of those things, you know, it's like starting a car. You know that there's a certain number of steps, and we're going to do this, and different cars start in different ways, but there's no possibility that you're going to walk away from a car and go, I don't know how to start that thing.
Exactly.
You guys know how to do the potty training, and really, you know, all the thousands of skills that you guys teach, you know that there's a way to do it. It's just which method are we going to use to do with this individual child.
Exactly.
It's very enlightening. But we talked first about DTT, Discrete Trial Training, then we talked about PRT, Pivotal Response Training, and we can't finish this equation or even pretend that we've talked about it all until we talk about NET, which is Natural Environment Training.
Exactly.
So take it away, boss.
Okay, so we a lot of times, or you know, you'll find a lot of good quality companies that will take a child who comes in very early and needs a lot of structure, and then over time start to transition the number of DTT types of programs to the number of NET types of programs. And this is taking a lesson and trying to make it more of a naturalistic learning opportunity for the child. So you include more natural reinforcement within this. So instead of, you know, your child does something and you give them a cracker, you know, you can't always be there to give them a cracker. So you start to train and pair these types of reinforcers, these contrived reinforcers, with more naturalistic ones. So just you know, having a conversation with a person becomes reinforcing instead of getting something because you're having a conversation with the person. And this happens to people as they grow up in general, that we start with these very contrived reinforcers, and a lot of times it's food and comfort and those types of things, and they become, as we grow up, contrived. Or less contrived, so more naturalistic. Things about the world become more reinforcing in and of themselves. And so that's what we try to do with NET, is to make engaging in the behavior reinforcing because of what comes of engaging in it. So saying hi to someone is reinforcing because they say hi back to you and maybe start talking to you, instead of saying hi because mom's sitting there with the iPad and gives it to me afterwards because I looked at the person and said hi. Because this is all built into natural environment training, and it looks a lot more natural from the standpoint of the parent too. I've had parents say, "So what are you actually doing when you're here? It looks like you're just kind of playing with my kid and seeing what he's doing." there is actually a lot of structure within it as well. So it appears from the outside as if you're just having a fun day with the kid and doing things and that he would do on a natural, on a typical day. But built into that are these different opportunities to engage in behaviors and that become naturally reinforcing to engage in them.
Super important. And we talk a lot on the show about the fact that, you might start working on something in that more contrived way with the DTT, but if we don't ever get to the NET, then we would get an equation where a child would the skill really wouldn't be theirs. It would just be something that they were taught. And the way that I really got this was talking about how my mother taught me how to drive. And that, my mother didn't teach me how to drive in the car that I was going to drive. She taught me first in the living room with a can of corn and a can of peas, because she was going to teach me how to do, the shifting and all of that stuff. And I remember feeling like in the beginning that none of those skills were ever going to be mine. Like I was never going to feel natural driving a car. But I do now. Yeah. And I don't think about those initial lessons, and it's very reinforcing for me to drive a car. And it's so important that we give our kids opportunities to do things in the real environment and don't just stay in the living room with the peas and the corn.
Exactly.
And that we're making sure that it's reinforcing for them, but that I always say give your program legs. It's got to go out into the community. It has to go to the grocery store. It has to go to the school. For anybody who thinks, well, if I'm doing ABA in the home and the therapists are coming to the home and we're going to be homebound and we're never going to go anyplace else, that's a wrong way to think about it.
No.
You got to do play dates. You got to get out. If you're not having your therapist go to the grocery store with you, you're missing out on all the things that your child needs to learn so that they can go grocery shopping with you later on.
Exactly.
And then plug everything else into that equation. Everything else, whether it's going to your mom's house for a dinner with adults, whatever it is, get the therapist to help you, because the point is for our kids to live in the world and to be able to communicate within the world. And
exactly.
And in my opinion, you're going to need all of those things. You're going to need the DTT, you're going to need the PRT, you're going to use the NET at some point. Maybe you're going to go heavier with your child in one area than the other because that's what works for them.
Exactly.
And then there's other things too that we won't go into today, but there are other teaching techniques that go along with all of this, but those are like the three main ones, aren't they?
Yeah, the broader categories of teaching, and like I said earlier, and you said just now, they're all built into a program a lot of times, and in very different ways based on what your child's needs are. And that's what's so great about working in this field, is that we can use all of these methods that we know are effective. They've been thoroughly researched, and we know they're effective. And so it's really just it's the puzzle, trying to put the puzzle together of what will work for your child.
Absolutely. And last thing I want to end with is, if your ABA provider is not doing these kinds of things, it should raise a question mark in your head. If all you're seeing is DTT, if your funding source is saying we're going to just do DTT, you need to be asking questions about, aren't we including these other things in as well? Thank you so much for enlightening us with these things. It's a lot, but you put them together, it is that puzzle piece, and your kid makes progress. Exactly. And we know that. Science has shown it. So thank you so much. We're going to see you again next Thursday. And we're going to take a break and come back to close out this week of shows, because we're not back until next Thursday when next we meet with you. Yes, we're letting Emily take some much needed time off. We need to let her do that from time to time, because Emily is awesome and we want to keep her. So stick with us. We're going to say goodbye to Angela. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. And we'll be back after these messages. Stick with us.
When Maddie was diagnosed, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant on what autism was. I knew that autism was basically something that hit boys at the age of 2 to 3. They shut down. And sometimes you think of the typical Rain Man movie. And with Maddie, she was doing all the same signs and symptoms of a typical child with autism spectrum disorder.
Stand up.
She
didn't even acknowledge us coming into the room. She had barely any eye contact. She didn't interact with her sisters. She didn't really do anything. She just basically lined up her toys, and that was about it. We have a team of 7 volunteers, or 8 now. We have 8 volunteers, including my husband and I. And I'm the team leader, and so I do all the curriculum and get everything ready each week.
Jana was downstairs until 11 o'clock at night working on curriculum, going through 2 different textbooks. And then we, as a group, meet on Monday nights, and we would go through what the curriculum was from Jana. And a lot of times we would go, well, how exactly do you do that? How do you sit her at the table and do this trial base? What Skills has done for us, it's taken that away from Jana trying to figure out the curriculum for one. She can go down, or even our laptop, and she can sit down, and through all these questions, it comes up with the different programs.
At least for me, it was a relief off my shoulders. I was worried that I might be missing something, missing a curriculum that maybe she needs to know, where Skills, they have every possible thing your child needs to know from 0 to 7. They have a program for that.
What noise is this?
Good job! Every program that we did with her, I knew it was specific for what she needed to learn. Because before Skills, it was a lot of, okay, well, is that really age appropriate for a 2-year-old? You know, because it's not generalized. It's anywhere from 0 to 7. This is what your child needs to know. In most manuals, you'll find. But for this, okay, yep, she should be learning this. And no, she's not 4 yet. She doesn't need to know that yet.
We are so fortunate that Jana was able to attend a conference put on by CARD that opened the door for Skills, and that there's no looking back for us.
We started using the program in November, and it seemed like by January something just clicked, and she has completely kind of came out of her fog that she was in for quite a while.
I have never read a documented case on any child that has not benefited anything from applied behavior analysis, and now with this new Skills and being, you know, like the E version of ABA, I can't imagine it doing anything harmful to their child. It's nothing but exponential growth for us.
To see her now, it just blows us away. I mean, we call her our little miracle child because in 7 months' time, she's just blossomed into this normal, functioning child, and suddenly, we joke about it all the time, like suddenly we have twins.
If you're even thinking about doing it, do it. Because the absolute worst thing you can do is do nothing at all. And even if you use this program and it's just a single mom or a single dad working in the evenings with their child, this program is going to benefit them. It's going to show you where they are, it's going to show you where they need to go, and it's going to show you what skills and how to get there. It is an online book on how to help recover your child.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Have a couple of things that we need to cover as we finish out this show and this week of shows. First of all, I have to remind all of you that the t-shirts from Paper Clouds Apparel, this is the last weekend. On Monday at midnight, it's over. These are limited edition t-shirts. It is my son's design. I feel guilty about admitting that, but I'm so proud of him. It is my son's robot that he drew with his very own hand. The really exciting thing, two things about it, is that they make great gifts. They're the softest t-shirt that you're ever going to feel, and that 50% of the proceeds goes to benefit Autism Care and Treatment Today, a wonderful organization that we talk about here. That's money in families' pockets now for the things that they need now. And you can't beat that, right? So I hope that you'll support what Paper Clouds Apparel is doing. They also hire individuals with special needs to do all the packaging and work in their office. So you're putting people to work and you're giving money money to families. And you're getting a really spiffy, very soft t-shirt to go with it, or a lovely bag or a hat. So I hope that you'll support Paper Clouds Apparel and Act Today by doing that. And in doing so, you'll support my child, which I also appreciate. I can't leave that out of it. Also, as I want to remind all of you that we're not going to be here tomorrow or Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So there is no Ask Dr. Doreen for this next week, or Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy when we come back. It will be next Thursday doing live shows. We do have some things that will be uploaded in the meantime, and you can connect with us on Facebook. Suzanne and I are going to be out doing some really exciting location shoots, and we're going to let Emily have some time off with her family because she deserves it. We have to reinforce our people the way we talk about the way we reinforce our children. So I will miss you, but you can still get in touch with me via the Twitter, via the Facebook, and you can email me as well, and we can keep the conversation going. The show will air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you do have all the clips to catch up on YouTube. So don't feel like we've left you. Emily's going to cycle through some of the ways that you can continue to watch us. I also have to remind you that we just need a few more people now to subscribe on the YouTube channel. I really want to be able to come back next Thursday and say to you, there's two ways you can watch us live. One is at www.autism-live.com, and the other is on YouTube/Autism Live. How fabulous would it be for you to be able to watch us on your tablet devices? I know, because you've been asking us for it for a while, I know you'd like to do that. So help me out. Get somebody else to subscribe. Everybody take responsibility for one person and get another person to do it, and we can get this done. Again, it's not going to cost anybody anything, and remember that that is a huge component of what we do here, is that we want for you to be able to get the information for free. So this is just another way that we can do it. I also want to say to you that one of the things that I've been working on the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to continue to be working on over the weekend and the beginning of next week, is making the schedule till the end of the year. So if there's a topic that you want covered, man, I'm looking to hear from you, because we're going to be getting it all together for till the end of the year into 2014. Did you ever think we were really going to be at 2014? Crazy to think about it. And I hope that you will continue to use us as a resource. Ask your questions in real time. Ask them however is most conducive for you. But we appreciate, I really want to tell you that this last week we've been overwhelmed with so many of you writing in wonderful things and asking questions. And it really helps all of us to know that you're watching, that it's having an impact, and it helps for us here to be able to continue to put the time and the effort in, and to say to the powers that be, this is a reason why we want to invest heavier in this. So write to us. We'll take testimonials if you have a testimonial that you want, and we'll include it in our materials if there's something that you want to say. But on the flip of it too, if there's things that you go, you know, I just wish Shannon would do this, or I just wish they had a segment about that, please tell us, because we're here for you. That's what our agenda is, and there isn't another agenda. Okay, we're out of time. I really want to wish all of you a wonderful weekend. We'll be back next Thursday. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.